Hello all! How's it going, y'all? RenGi here. And I'm here today to talk with y'all about all y'all's recent listens, all my recent listens. Just want to talk music, sort of come down after the the hectic stream we had last week. Oh my gosh, the 12-hour freaking charity stream for the Internet Archive, which thank y'all so much once again for your support. I'm looking forward to seeing that money go to the Internet Archive at the end of the month, I believe. I think they've signed up for PayPal Giving Fund on GoFundMe, and I believe that's how the money's going to be transferred through them. If I gotta clear that up, I'll clear that up. But I'm pretty sure that's that's in their hands now, and thank God we raised that much. I'm really happy with what we did there. Oh my gosh. But oh my God, I have so many things to deliver to you guys in the wake of that stream. I've got the that redone discography ranking stream. I think the King Crimson one out. I gotta do that. I've got to do a cover of Led Zeppelin's Thank You. I think I'm gonna try to sing that either tomorrow or sometime else this week. I think my voice has recovered to the point where I can actually do that sort of thing now. So lucky you guys. Hopefully you'll hear my beautiful pipes again real soon. But yeah, no, today, let's dive into the meat of our discussion, I tried to guide, our discussion last time with, albums or, like, bands and artists, but, at a certain point, it was kind of a bouncing act trying to answer between you guys and, what I had planned, so, we'll see. We'll go with how, we'll see how the wind guides this stream, for lack of a better word, But for now, I guess our starting topic today is Pantera. And when I put up the poll, for the redone discography ranking stream, right? Pantera was an early front runner there. I thought for some time that I was going to have to do a Pantera re-ranking. I was actually preparing this week accordingly. When I was at the gym, I was pumping iron to Pantera. It was nice. Pantera is really effective gym music. Let me just say, like, if you have like a gym membership and you like pumping iron or lifting weights or doing cardio, like running on a treadmill or elliptical or what have you, Pantera really helps you get through that. Like, oh my God. There's just something about, like, the energy that they brought to heavy metal in the 90s that was so, I don't know, maybe refreshing. I don't know. I mean, I say that like I was there. I wasn't really there at the time, right? But but all the same, I feel, and maybe this does speak to my inexperience with mainstream metal, but I feel like their sort of sound, their sort of bludgeoning, blistering, almost hardcore inspired delivery. Phil Anselmo was screaming his fucking guts out. It's the most ugly that I feel like mainstream commercial metal has gotten. Like maybe like Slayer too, those sorts of bands that like get really down and deep into the extreme metal aesthetics. But like Pantera, oh my God, they were brilliant at their height, right? Like Dimebag Darrell with his shredding guitar solos. What's his face? The brother, the drummer brother. Vinnie Paul, oh my God, Vinnie Paul on drums. I was going back and listening to some of those older Pantera tracks, like Primal Concrete Sledge. Like, I feel like you can distinctly hear him accent on those like double kick hits, and I'm not yet talented to do stuff like that. I've been a drummer 14 years at this point, right? And I have yet to develop the coordination in my other foot to have, that sort of double kick rhythm going, let alone, accenting kicks like that. So like Vinnie Paul was a goddamn talent in his own right. You know, like Dimebag Darrell was the one who got gunned down tragically, and hey, Dinosaur Tornado, how's it going? Hey, pal, dropping in to say thanks for what you do. Let the comment about this with your kids' videos. So me and my kids becoming Kiss fans and bonding over it. Oh my gosh, that's cool. I'm glad to spread the love, you know? I mean, I don't know exactly how much longer that Kiss love might propel you. I mean, Kiss is carrying on with the avatars and whatnot, but they are unfortunately no longer really with us anymore. Hey, John, how's it going? Good to see y'all. Good to see y'all. Hope y'all are doing well, and hope you're chilling, you know. Yeah, though, Pantera, just such a solid talent at the core. You know, that's not even getting into Rex Brown, right? Like, he's got like this underrated backbone going too as a as a bassist. I think Kiss is better as a concept than as people. Oh my god. That's ain't that the truth, you know? It's funny, like you get into Kiss as like a kid, or like at least that's the usual entry point that I hear, because like that's how my dad got into them. Like when he was young back in the 70s when Kiss were around, like he thought they were the coolest shit, right? He and his friends. But you know, then he grew up and realized that, you know, a bunch of them were really in it for like the maybe not as pure reasons as like bringing the rock and roll party and whatnot. And it was like Pantera pulled up to Madison Square Garden, but I couldn't go. I had an exam. Oh yeah, the modern Pantera, yeah. that's another topic in and of itself, you know. I don't know if I would go see them, right? Like, because I was just saying how like Dimebag and Vinny were these essential parts of it. I mean, for fuck's sake, they were the ones at the core of it from the start, right? Like, it was Dimebag and Vinny who were like passionately playing, like these brothers who were obsessed with metal music back in the 80s in Texas, and they got together with their friends. They had this cheeky little glam metal band for a few years before they ditched their old singer and they brought on Phil Anselmo, and then they fucking revolutionized metal with Pantera. And now this new Pantera, I don't know how I feel about it, right? Like, Phil Anselmo, he is not a good person, in my opinion. He's, you know, he's said some things, he's done some things on stage that really, I don't know if he's properly reflected on or properly grappled with the implications of offstage, you know. I get that, you know, he and Rex Brown, they want to continue to relive, you know, the old Pantera glory days and, like, play songs like I'm Broken and, you know, 5 Minutes Alone for streaming and moshing fans and all that stuff. And, you know, all the more power to them. But I don't know if they should be doing it in the Pantera name when, you know, the Abbott brothers were so central to the band, you know? Like, I believe Pantera actually got banned recently when they came through. They got banned from like the Rock am Ring and Rock am Park festivals in Germany and Vienna when you know, when I think authorities looked at Anselmo's previous racist remarks and like his Hitler salutes on stage, and it's like, woof, you know. Like, I appreciate that they got like Zach Wilde and Charlie Benante in place of what is it, Dimebag and Paul, like Vinny. Like, for what it's worth, I think those are, you know, good enough talents to fill those shoes. But at the same time, should they be filling those shoes? I don't know. You know, I like going back and listening to Pantera. There's something about those older Pantera records that's still sort of timeless. Like Terry Date's production, oh my god, it still rings true all these years later. And like when he went back and redid the production on Reinventing the Steel, that's only that only made that album all the more sweet, in my opinion. Sorry, I'm gonna get some water here. seeing Ace Frehley on Thursday. Do you think it's worth it? I don't know. I personally haven't seen him live myself. I mean, I haven't been keeping up with his solo career much in general. I know he's got a new album out. But I have also seen a bunch of, comments and whatnot of people saying that he's been a lot more tired and just sort of going through the motions in recent years. I mean, I feel like you could say that about a lot of old legacy rock acts that are on the road nowadays. So, my advice is just like, if you want to see them before they stop touring or whatever, go for the experience. That's reason enough, in my opinion, right? I recently, kind of speaking of reunited bands, I think it was Adrian Belew is reforming a sort of King Crimson Mark III-ish line. Is it Mark III? No, I don't know if it's Mark III or the 80s sort of. He's forming a band to play 80s King Crimson songs with Steve Vai, Danny Carey, and somebody else. I forget. Oh yeah, Tony Levin, the original fucking bassist of 80s King Crimson. So I would totally be for going to see that if it came through my area, right? Even though I don't know exactly how faithful it would be to those original reincarnations. I don't know. I mean, it's got the full faith and credit of fucking Robert Fripp himself backing it, so I might go see it for that reason. I actually went and saw King Crimson twice back in the day. Once when I was studying abroad in Vienna, and then the other time when I was when I was going to Cat College. They were playing somewhere nearby, and I went and saw them in a pretty small theater. It was a really cool gig both times. The modern King Crimson lineup that they've got with all six fucking what is it? I was about to say they had 6 drummers. No, they have 3 drummers, but it's a sort of septet lineup, and it's very orchestral, very staid almost. Very, I don't know. I loved the experience of going to see King Crimson, even if it was very. I believe there was a good Bill Bruford quote about it somewhere. I don't know. It's not coming to mind. But yeah, no. I would definitely if you want to go see Ace for sure. Fuck the people who are saying that he's sleepy or tired or whatever. I'm sure his backing band, at least, if nothing else, is solid. What was I gonna say? I guess we can sort of transition away from Pantera then, because, But actually, no, I think I have a bit more to say about, what is it? The, fucking Great Southern Trendkill. Revisiting that album in particular, in the past week or so. How the hell did they get away with some of that stuff on, in mainstream, fucking the Suicide Note duology? I don't want to say that word so willy-nilly, but those 2 songs on that album are just so raw, so ugh. Did you ever get in a Dream Theater? Metropolis Part 2 seems. Oh yeah, I like a bunch of old Dream Theater. I'm really glad that Mike Portnoy's back in the band. His lyricism back in those early days, I think, really gave some of those epics that they had a lot of weight. Right? Because he was dealing with a lot of alcoholism too, right? And I think that reflected in some of those lyrics. I don't know, and I really just love his drumming too. I think Mike Portnoy's just a really upstanding, all-around good guy. I mean, not to bag on Mike Mangini. I think he's a fine enough drummer, I think he held a fucking Guinness World Record for, fastest drumming hand or whatever. So, when he was I remember back in the day when he was announced as, the replacement drummer for Dream Theater, I was like, oh yeah, no, fucking duh. But all the same, I think that I don't know. I haven't really been following Dream Theater since Mike Portnoy left back in the late 2000s. I remember when they were in fucking Rock Band, like a few of their songs were in Rock Band, like Panic Attack. Oh my god, what a bop that was. I need to listen to more prog metal. You know, I admire a lot of like that Dream Theater stuff, but you know, I haven't really listened to too much outside of that. What was it? There was like a few. What was that one side project? Liquid Tension Experiment. I think that's fucking dope. The one they got Tony Levin in on. Fucking Tony Levin's such a great bassist. Like, such a versatile one too. Like, he's played with those guys. He's played with David Bowie. He's played with Peter Gabriel. He's played with King Crimson, of course. Like, he's played with a lot of fucking people. And you know, God bless him. He's still performing in just like small jazz combos. I think there was there's this one time that he was coming through like a local place back where I grew up in, and I was highly considering low key maybe going to that, but I don't know. I sort of just ended up dropping it. I don't know. There are a lot of plans we make that we just sort of leave to the wayside like that. Guess we can transition the topic. Ooh. What did you think of the new Judas Priest? I haven't listened to too much of it. I've listened to a few tracks. I think I heard Panic Attack, and that was a fucking banger. I'm definitely going to listen to that one in more depth soon because I'm going to be revisiting Judas Priest sometime in the future as part of some other event. I might have spoiled it already on stream earlier, but I will keep mum about it in case the people that I'm doing it with don't really want to lay all their plans on the table, you know. But yeah, no, I'm so glad that Priest are still around and releasing, kick-ass music this late into their career. Like, this is their 50th anniversary, if you think about it. Like, they put out Rock-a-Rolla 50 years ago, and now they're still continuing on and making music that's, both honoring their legacy and continuing to push ahead in, what they're capable of, I have so much respect for Rob Halford, right? Like, he's so old, but he's still trying to maintain his voice and deliver his lines in such a way that, I don't know. He's such a goddamn talent, even this late in his life. It's honestly sort of enviable, I wish that I would sound that fucking great as a... How old is Rob Halford? Hold on a second. Rob Halford is 72 fucking years old. Jesus Christ. Oh my god. And he's going up on stage all bald and looking like this heavy metal Santa Claus, and he's great, man. I aspire to be like Rob Halford when I grow up. Although I'm not quite as gay as he is. Talk about Rock Band. I used to shred Painkiller by Judas Priest. Oh my god. I loved all the Judas Priest songs that they had on Rock Band. They had the full Screaming for Vengeance album. They had Painkiller. I think they had a bunch of tracks from they had the entirety of British Steel just performed live, and then they had I think a few cuts off of Live Evil or something like that. They gave Priest a lot of love in Rock Band, and I appreciate Harmonix for that. It's really sad that we no longer have weekly Rock Band DLC, even though they for some reason released new instruments for Rock Band recently. I think that's a thing. Goddamn, Harmonix is deeply in the pocket of big epics, so unfortunately I think they're in the Fortnite mines for now, so hopefully we will see some sort of rhythm game revival in the future. it's kind of a shame. Like, I feel like all those rhythm games now are in like this bygone era where all these record labels were a lot more I guess trusting of like lending out their music to like games, like licensing out their music to rhythm games like that. Hey, Christopher DeRose, how's it going? Yes, David wanted to say, hey, take care. Hey, that's fine, man. Glad you could pop in for a bit. Yeah, no, I miss those old music games. Used to play a lot of Rock Band back in the day. That was how I got into playing the drums. I don't know if I've exactly mentioned that on stream. Well, what am I saying? I've probably said that a bunch of times. I don't know. But yeah, Rock Band was my intro to really playing music and getting deeper into it. Oh, I keep forgetting that my water's right in front of me. My goddamn microphone is like this visual obstruction. Whew. All right. We can switch topics, I guess. Talk a little bit about Anthrax. Because yes, with Charlie Benante being in the recent incarnation of Pantera, I have also gone back and listened to like some Anthrax just to get a feel for those his skill in that band. This is months ago, I think, when he was in Pantera, when he joined Pantera, that I did this. But just like, goddamn, does Anthrax get slept on? Like, I know they're supposedly one of like the big four in thrash metal, right? But like, a lot of people tend to question online, like, hey, why is Anthrax in the big four? Why do people think they're as good as Metallica, Slayer, and Megadeth? I think Caught in a Mosh, of course, speaks for itself. But I would willingly go to bat for like a bunch of their other shit. Like their debut album, Fistful of Metal, like, oh my god, like that is a shredder of an album right there. What else? There's a bunch of tracks off of like A State of Euphoria that there's really bangers, like Be All End All, the cover of Antisocial that they do. I gotta go back and listen to that album closer because there's a lot on there. I mean, I know that one gets slept on a lot, but it's that era of Anthrax where they had like Joey Belladonna and hold on, let me pull up the lineup. Wikipedia to the rescue. Whew. Yeah, what was it? Yeah, back when they had Joey Belladonna, Scott Ian, Dan Spitz, Frank Bello, and Charlie Benante, that was peak. Like, their the album that came out, what was after State of Euphoria? Oh yeah, Persistence of Time. Oh my god, some of the stuff on that is lit as shit. I love like Time. I love In My World. I love Belly of the Beast. Just so much goddamn heavy shit on that album. And yeah, I think people tend to underrate Anthrax just because they haven't listened to as much of. Anthrax haven't had as much opportunity to get into the mainstream as the other bands. I mean, like, they had, like, a bit of crossover success, I guess, with that Bring the Noise. Didn't they do that with Public Enemy? But, you don't often hear them in a lot of conversations. Even though they were with Metallica when they, basically, came to New York and got their start as, like, on that indie label Metal Blade. Was it Metal Blade? Yeah, I think it was, the one with David Zaslav. No, it's Megaforce. Yeah, that's the label. Yeah. They were there from the start on Megaforce. They fucking, I don't know. They're a dope band. I don't know, just like going back and listening to some tracks off of what was it? Among the Living in this past week. I love Indians. I love Effelnika Fissin. I love One World. I Am the Law, Caught in the Mosh, Among the Living. It's just dope, dope album after, well, dope song after dope song on that album, all with stellar production, thanks to Eddie Kramer. Well, it's actually funny. I think the story of that album is that they brought on Eddie Kramer to do production because they like how he, produced the early Kiss albums, right? Like his work with Alive and Alive 2 and stuff like that. But Eddie Kramer was sort of in a phase, like, in the late 80s, where it was like all about these sort of layered production and, echo and reverb and stuff. And, I think he added that to one mix of the of the album, and the band were like, nah, man, you gotta leave it raw. You gotta have us, having it go like at the max volume and shit. And hey, I can't fault them. They were right. I think the final album just sounds amazing. Even though like, I don't know, even though the songs feel a lot more light in terms of like subject matter, you very easily could place some of these riffs alongside some of the greatest that Metallica have ever put down. Like listening to stuff like Indians, for instance. Like I'm reminded a lot of the stuff on, what was it? One song, I think it was Disposable Heroes on Master of Puppets. Oh my god, that song itself, Disposable Heroes. I could go off on this entire other tangent about like 80s Metallica. That period of Metallica, I don't know if they could ever really recapture that. I mean, I remember going to see Metallica back in 2009, I think. Like, they just released Death Magnetic. They were trying to ride in on the whole, Metallica, we're back after the sort of disaster that was the Saint Anger period and all that. And I guess they were back to an extent, right? Why am I talking about Metallica when the topic says Anthrax? But, I'm all over the place here. But yeah, Metallica, I don't know, like, I loved seeing them live. It was incredible. I think it was my first time ever seeing a concert at Madison Square Garden. I've never gone back to Madison Square Garden, even though I've been living in New York City for the past however many years at this point. And it was a stellar concert, like all the pyro, I think there were like coffin lights hanging from the rafters. Hetfield, Lars, they put on a hell of a show. It's just like mugging for the audience and all that. It was a lot of fun, but at the same time, like, Metallica are old, they're worn, they're like, at the peak of their, they're like dad rockers now. They're dads now. Metallica makes dad music, it feels like. Like, ever since like the Load and Reload albums, really. It feels like Hetfield and Lars and Kirk, and I mean, I don't know what Rafael Trujillo's thinking of, but they I don't know. It's a very it's a sound that looks back more than it tries to innovate, and it's good if they want to continue making that sort of music. That's all well and good, but at the same time, like, I'd rather bands continue trying to push that needle, right? Like, I think like with recent Anthrax, they've gotten like a lot heavier in like tone and I guess delivery than in the past on their earliest albums, and I guess I can appreciate that in some respects. I remember listening to, I think, like a This Is Anthrax playlist from Spotify when I was going to work at the gym, when I was working out of the gym one time, and some of those songs came on. It's fine, it's all right stuff. Like, what was it, the albums that they put out in the past few years. Oh yeah, like Worship Music and For All Kings and Jesus. Oh my god, those albums are like, those are getting up there in years though. Like, the most recent Anthrax album came out 8 years ago. Fuck me. I mean, I guess that makes sense. These bands are old and they aren't releasing new music as often anymore. Well, I think Megadeth is like. Let me look at that actually. How often are Megadeth putting us? Because I know like Dave Mustaine, he's still being his crazy self and writing all of it. Oh, okay. Metallica, Megadeth haven't been as active either. Like they had Dystopia back in 2016, then The Sick, The Dying, and The Dead. And I love reading those those extended Metallica song titles like Dave Mustaine. Like he would do it like that. I don't know. I've got a lot of respect for Anthrax though, and I think people. I've considered making a video sort of to argue more for their placement among the thrash big four, right? Like, because I do see some posts on the internet dissing them, trying to put them down as like non-essential to thrash music, and that's far from the case, really. They were one of the earliest bands doing well, especially on the East Coast, right? Because they are like the one East Coast rep in the thrash four. The rest of the people are either from the Bay scene or Los Angeles. Ooh, excuse me. I don't know if you guys heard that. I've gotta love that old thrash stuff too. Like, I haven't listened so much to Exodus. I've heard quite a bit of Testament, but other than that, I do need to more earnestly go back and dig into more thrash metal, like international thrash metal, especially like Sepultura. I think like I don't know exactly how you pronounce them, but like like Brazilian thrash, like Sepultura. Like, oh my god, like following King Gizzard's recent concerts in South America and seeing South American metal fans go ballistic for their metal songs just makes me all the more aware that I need to, plunge headfirst into that sort of South American heavy metal music scene. So, if any of y'all South American listeners or supporters of mine are out there, I would definitely take your recommendations for that sort of stuff. Okay, I think we can switch gears here to another. Ooh, hey Mina, how's it going? Japanese band Outrage is excellent. They sound like if Metallica was a band from the Japanese hardcore scene. Ooh, that sounds cool. I'll write them down. Yeah, I mean, I'll get into this later in the stream, but sorry, I don't know if you guys are hearing that. There's a loud music. It's a loud car. It's a car with dub music passing by, and. I mean, I don't really hate dub music or anything like that, but I do wish that, do wish it wouldn't be, I don't know. I whenever people pass by with, like, loud car stereos blaring like that, I always think about, like, what's happening to their hearing. It must be, like, fucking shot, man. Like, Jesus. But, as I'll get into, like, I've been listening to like a few of those like Japanese recommendations that I got from last time, or at least I think there was like this one recommendation in particular that was like, yeah, Sekima the Second. Oh my god, I'll get into those guys. Sekima 2, or I don't know how you really say their name, but like I will definitely get into talking about that later. And just I would love to, like I've said in the past, I would love to explore more Japanese metal. So I will take that band into consideration. Let's see. We can switch gears here and talk about Leafhound. How many of you guys ever hear of Leafhound? These guys are kind of an obscure, early heavy metal band, almost, from England. I don't know if you classify them as heavy metal. They're like sort of heavy metal, acid rockish, blues metal. Nope, never heard of them. Hey, MBRI, how's it going, man? These guys are fascinating, though. Like, they put out, like, one album back in the early 70s and basically broke up after that. And, what was it? Yeah, okay. So they recorded their debut album in Mayfair, London in late 1970. And soon after, what was it? Soon after, one of them told the other that they didn't need rhythm guitarist anymore, and that he could do all the guitar playing. So they asked the rhythm guitarist to leave the band, and so like there's a whole kerfuffle going on with the band, and basically it resulted in them breaking up soon after they put out that one album. But now that one album, Growers of Mushroom, it's kind of become like a bit of a beloved cult classic in the years since, and you can see why. I believe like musicians like what was it? Michael Ackerfeld, the frontman of Opeth, I believe he cited this album as like one of his favorite rock albums of all time. And like, yeah, stuff like fucking Freelance Fiend, Sad Road to the Sea, Drown My Life in Fear, Stagnant Pool, Stray. Like, there's a lot of bangers on this album. Like, if you like heavy blues rockish, early like heavy metal, that sort of like kind of along the lines of Budgie almost. If you've ever heard of Budgie, it's like I love that sort of like not quite punk, not quite metal, it just heavy garage, blasting ahead, garage blues, like I like when heavy sound go boom. Like, I think that, a lot of people, a lot of bands in the early 70s, they were still trying to figure out this heavy metal stuff. Like Black Sabbath, they were all on the whole occult, mysterious, heavy topic train early on with like shit like Iron Man, with Black Sabbath, with Children of the Grave. But, a lot of other bands, they were still trying to feel out the, like where humorous material could fit in that. And you've got like Deep Purple and Budgie and, people like Leafhound feeling out that territory, like trying to adapt like old blues, like, Squeeze My Lemon sort of tropes into that sort of music, like. It's really fascinating, early heavy metal, and like I know like it got a lot more streamlined and like distinct as a genre in the 80s. Like you could definitely make the case that that was the peak of heavy metal, was in the 80s, was when people were innovating in all these different subgenres and stuff. But I really think that the early heavy metal bands, like stuff like Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Uriah Heep, Leafhound, Captain Beyond, Flower Traveling Band, Sir Lord Baltimore, and all these other obscure 70s metal bands that I'm not even thinking of right now. They laid this groundwork, this beautiful, heavy groundwork for, people in the late 70s to then take up and, take even further, like Judas Priest and, what was it? Judas Priest and Motorhead. Like, oh my god, those two bands did more for the genre of heavy metal than I would argue Black Sabbath did, in terms of basically making metal into its own distinct culture. Like, oh my god, their influence is basically second to none. Bow Wow's one of my favorite early heavy metal bands. Oh, I love Bow Wow. They were heavily influenced by Flower Traveling Band. Oh, I wouldn't doubt that. Oh my god, yeah, I love those first 3 Bow Wow albums that I believe they're on Spotify. I've listened to quite a few of the cuts from them in recent months, and yeah, no, I have a lot of respect for Bow Wow. Definitely need to follow that chain some more. And I remember I did a ranking stream a few years back about 3 early heavy metal bands, and Flower Traveling Band was one of them. They're a really interesting early band. Like they did a cover of 21st Century Schizoid Man and Black Sabbath months or only a year or only months after those songs actually came out in the West. It's insane, and they do those songs justice. I would argue that their version of 21st Century Schizoid Man is on par with that original. That was extremely influential. Had the lead guitarist from X Japan's Hide, the lead guitarist from X Japan, said Bow Wow and Kiss were his 2 favorite bands. But see, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because didn't they played together when Kiss came over to Japan, right? For their 1976 tour. They had Bow Wow open for them, and Bow Wow also opened for Aerosmith and stuff too. It's really cool how heavy metal in those different in different countries had a synergy even then. Aerosmith's another band that I should probably go back and really dig into some more. I know they were more hard rock, if anything, but I actually explored a bit of their history for my recent Boston video, because they were roughly contemporaries with Tom Scholz at one point, right? They came from or at least they were based in the Boston area, sort of. Some of their members came from New York City, and they would always they shared an apartment in Boston, and they would always go down and play some gigs in New York City to maintain their connection there. And then when I think it was they found out one night that Clive Davis was at Max's Kansas City for another band, and they decided to jump on that bill by paying out of their own pocket, and that was how they got their breakthrough. I think that was documented on their song No Surprise. It was an insane sort of rock story, insane sort of success story that I guess sort of shows the dedication of and grit of trying to work until they made it. But on the other hand, Tom Scholz's approach is equally as valid. Sort of taking it easy, living comfortably, building your own art on your own time to present as essentially a demo concept. I remember there's this one interview that I've been going back to recently, trying to find more info from. The Vinyl Guide interviewed Tom Scholz on the 45th anniversary of the original Boston album, and they asked what was it? I think the host, he said something to the effect that the original Boston album is essentially a mirror image of a tech startup, right? Only that Tom Schulz's product wasn't like an Apple or an Apple II or anything like that. It was like an album, right? Because he was like tinkering in his basement. He was, inventing all his equipment. He was recording all the shit himself and tinkering with the levels and all for his chance to get signed. And oh yeah, I know they did a lot of cocaine. I remember that. Aerosmith said their favorite band to tour with. Hold on. So their favorite band to tour with Biz. They did some tours in Japan with Biz and asked Biz to tour with them in America. Biz were too busy. Biz are a great band. Oh yeah, I think I've heard of them. BZ. Oh yeah. I think I've definitely heard of them. They've done a few Annie songs before, haven't they? And yeah, I wish there was more overlap between like American and Japanese markets. Like, God bless recently, like the K-pop wave that sort of, I guess, broken into like the American top 100, but like, we need more love like that for the Japanese market. I feel, like we're just on the cusp of like a major, I guess, weeaboo crossover moment, but we haven't quite got there yet. Biz have sold more than 100 million albums worldwide, and most of that is in Japan alone. Yeah, I know. See that? That is crazy. I love how hard Japanese go for some of their artists over there. I especially love how Japanese go hard for some of our artists that we didn't go as hard for ourselves. Like the whole concept of being big in Japan and whatnot. Man. Take another sip. Oh my gosh, I have run out of water already. I'll be right back. Let me put up a glass of water real quick. Wait, where's my water? We're not? Huh. Wait, hang on 1 second. Here we go. Getting some water. I will be right back. Doodles. I'm back. Oh, let me hide that water. Hello, everybody. I'm back. I have hydration. Remember, y'all, keep hydrated. I learned the hard way last week that it's not just an empty affirmation to say to people to hydrate oneself. It's, oh my god, I fucking wrecked my voice last week. I had like some sort of flu going on. I was talking for like 11 hours straight. My voice was gone the next day, which was kind of bad because, my mom came up the next day celebrating my birthday and whatnot, and we hung out a bit, and I could barely talk, above the level of like, It's kind of like, down here, and, you know, like, I was very, like, in the range of, like, Hex Haywire or someone like that. But yeah, no, I'm glad that my voice has recovered. Let's hope that I can hope that I can keep the stress levels to a minimum today. Yeah, I guess in summation though, for our topic of Leafhound, very underrated band from England. You know, that one early album, Growers of Mushroom, is very solid all around. If you are a fan of, like, you know, heavy, like, early stoner rock, that sort of thing, I would definitely recommend checking that album out. And God, I definitely need to listen to more. I definitely need to listen to more of that sort of music. Yeah, I guess, what was it? Interesting to note here on the Wikipedia page, Wolfmother and Tame Impala cite them as an influence. That's cool. I love both those bands, and that definitely makes sense. Yeah, okay. I guess we can switch to another band. Your mom loves Mr. Big. Oh yeah, Mr. Big. I hear is one of them. I haven't really listened to that much Mr. Big. Like, I know, of course, like, their big song is "To Be With You," right? You know, that one ballad. Like, I think, funny enough, one of, like, the last big, like, hair metal hits. Let's talk a little about the Raspberries. Yeah, now I need to go back and listen to Mr. Big some. I know, like, they've got some wicked talents in their band. Mr. Big. Huh. Oh, funny enough, there's, like, an American and a British band named Mr. Big. The American band has, oh yeah, Billy Sheehan and Paul Gilbert. Those are the two talents that I was thinking of. Like, oh my god. It's amazing that they've got, like, virtuosic bassists and guitarists, like, shredding the shit out of the shit. But yes, the Raspberries. I want to give, I guess, well, maybe moment of silence. I don't know if is as fitting for a VTuber stream, but I definitely want to pay homage to Eric Carmen, R.I.P. May he rest in peace. He's recently, I think his wife recently came out and announced his passing, and it sucks because I feel like the Raspberries don't get enough credit for their influence in the 70s, but they are power pop par excellence. You know, There are weird connections between Mr. Big and Extreme. Oh, really? I mean, I believe that, right? I feel like they, you know, two fucking fantastic hair metal bands that I'm sure they run in the same circles. Oh yeah. Oh, you're talking like coincidence connections. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Oh my god, yeah. I love Nuno Betancourt's guitar playing. Those early Extreme albums are fucking phenomenal. Like, their debut and Porno Graffiti, great albums. And even, like, their third album's got some great stuff on it. God, I remember I used to have I feel like I've mentioned this before on my channel, but I used to have this big, like, glam metal phase when I was a teen, and Extreme was one of those bands that I really liked. You know, I feel like they still hold up to a good extent. Rat as well. Rat is another phenomenal early hair metal band that just I've always appreciated, like, Stephen Pearcy's got this really fitting voice for for glam metal especially, and the duo of Warren DeMartini and Robin Crosby is solid, solid. Eric Carmen is the guy who sang Hungry Eyes and Love's All That Matters. Oh yeah, he had like that extensive solo career after the Raspberries broke up, and how to say, I I haven't listened to it, but I do know, like, I've heard of it, right? Like, obviously, like, didn't he do like all by myself? Like, I think he did that and like a bunch of other sort of like soft, easy listening hits well through the 80s. But I mostly just know his work in the Raspberries, because I think, what was it? Trash Taste, not Trash Taste, oh my god, they're the podcast. Trash Theory, they're a channel on YouTube that I really like their work. They did this really good like breakdown of the history of power pop, and the Raspberries played a pretty prominent role in it as one of the earliest examples, how to say, of the genre. Like, their debut has got some great cuts on it, some lovely ballads like Don't Want to Say Goodbye. That's a song that I've been listening to a lot recently. It's really phenomenally constructed, I feel like. That, I think, like, I Can Remember's another good song from that album. And of course, Go All the Way is a stone cold classic. I don't know, like, a lot of their earlier stuff is, very Beatles-esque, but, gradually as their discography went on, they incorporated more harder, like, Who-like influence, almost. Like, going to, like, their album Side 3, they have this, I love their song Tonight. It's a very kick-ass sort of ballsy power pop song. And then their last album, I think I have it on the thumbnail, Starting Over. That is another phenomenal album. The lead-off single... Is it the lead-off single for that? Let me check that. Starting Over. Yeah, the lead-off song from that album, Overnight Sensation. Oh my god, it's a phenomenal fucking song, and it's a shame that I don't know. It's a shame the Raspberries are underrated. I feel like that could stand among some of the best like power ballads of the 70s. Do you think Duncan would become superstars if they'd stayed together? Or do you think the band would end up murdered? I don't know. I'm not too well versed on the ins and outs of the dynamics of Dokken. I know that a lot of the ex-members hate each other to an extent, but I don't know. Honestly, I think they had quite a bit enough success in the 80s. As one of those big hair metal bands that got successful early on. I don't know. Maybe they could have been a bit more successful after with like Dream Warriors and all that, having a song in like a fucking Friday the 13th, not Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street film. Like, I definitely think they could have had maybe one more like hit in the like late 80s, early 90s maybe, but I don't know. They probably would have suffered the same fate as a lot of other hair metal bands, unfortunately. Don't worry, Mina. I'm in good health still. I've got actually got some Dayquil and NyQuil. My mom was kind enough to get some for me when she was up here and visiting. It's really interesting. I don't think I've had Dayquil and or NyQuil, if not ever, then certainly in a while, because oh my god, the taste is so unusual. I mean, I know it's like typical like medicine sort of stuff, right? Like, it's not supposed to taste good, but it's like ugh, very, very slimy, sticks in your mouth a lot. I don't know. I am definitely feeling better though. I'm hoping that tomorrow I'll be in a good enough condition where I can sing some Robert Plant. You know, the good thing about Thank You is that that's one of the early Zeppelin songs where Robert Plant doesn't really go super ham. You know, he's always like in those early albums, and it's like I could never. Well, at least not at the level he did. Oh my god, he sang himself into another register entirely by the end of Led Zeppelin's career. And Led Zeppelin, that's another band that, you know, I do think from time to time what could have happened to them if they had gone on into the 80s, if John Bonham had, you know, made it through his alcoholism, because I don't know, it felt like Led Zeppelin were on some sort of verge of tension at some point. Because not only was Robert Plant, you know, getting to be more of a homebody with the death of one of his kids, and, you know, Jimmy Page suffering from his own heroin issues, but I don't know, just times are changing, man, and maybe Led Zeppelin should have remained in the 70s as a product of the 70s. You know, like maybe much like the Beatles remain as this golden crystal, or well, I was about to say golden crystallization. What terminology is that? Much like the Beatles remain as this like crystallization of like the 60s. You know, I don't know. Oh man. You know, it's a shame though, speaking of like bands breaking up early on, like it's a shame that the Raspberries only lasted as long as they did. Like I think they formed in like 1970 and only lasted 5 years after that. And of course they had a few more reunions after that point, but that was only to like tour live. I don't know. Maybe the longevity of power pop acts is, you know, it's better to burn out than to fade away, that sort of mentality, but at the same time, like, there's more than one way to get, like, a solid song out of, like, out of a chord progression, right? Like, goddamn, there's that one chord song that every artist uses once. Yeah, no. I've got to say though, if y'all are looking for a solid ass power pop band, Raspberries, they are right up there. What was it? I wanted to say one more thing about. Oh yeah, like their Who influence. The Who influence really shines through on Starting Over. I remember listening recently to, I think it's Play On and I Don't Know What I Want off of that album, and like, oh my god, the drumming goes hard on that. Like, I'm surprised that Michael McBride, drummer on this album, his album is grayed out on Wikipedia, because apparently Max Weinberg of the fucking E Street Band cited this album as an influence on his drumming. Like, you think Michael McBride would have gone on to do something like something else significant from there, but nah, I guess it was just another footnote in 70s rock history, unfortunately. Been wanting to listen to some power pop lately. Definitely gonna check Raspberries. Oh yeah, dope. Yeah, no, I love power. I love a lot of like that 70s sort of power pop sound, like that Todd Rundgren especially was doing. Like, oh my god, Todd Rundgren is a rabbit hole in and of itself. Like, I love his album A Wizard of True Star, but it just goes to some bonkers areas. In fact, he went to some very bonkers areas after that point in his career. Like, Todd Rundgren. kind of sidetracking from the topic, but oh my god. You scroll down to the discography section on Todd Rundgren's Wikipedia page, and it's just like filled with albums. I can't even count off the top of my head how many that is. Oh, the Cars are peak power pop. Oh yeah, I definitely agree there. Like that debut Cars album is a masterpiece. And, you know, I love a lot of their other singles that they put out. Like I think there was Shake It Up. You Might Think. I think He Even Drives pretty solid. R.I.P. Rick Ocasek. I remember. I was doing some volunteer work for this one library, and they had this old set of poetry from Rick Ocasek that I think either he or his wife hand bound or something like that. It was really fascinating finding that, because it was like only a few like months or weeks after his death. Man, R.I.P. to that dude. He was a great songwriter, a great singer, and a great producer too. Like he produced a few Weezer albums. It's a really funny footnote in his history there. Yeah, no, Todd Rundgren though. I really want to do like some sort of a deep dive into him at some point. Like, if not a full career thing, at least some sort of sliced segment of his career, you know, like maybe looking at his time in the 70s, maybe looking at his period with Utopia. I don't know, like there's a lot of angles that you could take some sort of a Todd Rundgren retrospective. It's like he also did a lot of fucking production work. Like, yeah, he worked with Badfinger, New York Dolls, Grand Funk Railroad. He was everywhere. Hilariously, he also worked with Bad Religion, although, as Crash Thompson has highlighted, that working relationship was not as fruitful. I didn't know that Todd Rundgren joined the Cars at one point, though. That's pretty cool. Let's see. Oh. The Cars. Oh yeah, I guess he was fleshing out the band in the wake of Benjamin Orr's death. R.I.P. to both of them, both Orr and Ocasek. I love 70s power pop though, which is why I'm glad that I get to revisit like all this Boston material for this upcoming video, because I would argue very heavily that Boston is like is power pop perfected. Like, as much as Wikipedia might not, distinctly label them as power pop, and yes, I still have it as a chip on my shoulder, I do think that Boston, just at their core, knew how to write a damn catchy rock and roll song. Like, Tom Scholz, he knew what he wanted in terms of rock and roll music, and that really comes through. I definitely recommend y'all go watch that Trash Theory video on the evolution of power pop. It's really cool. Although I don't know if it's necessarily complete. Like, I feel like to say that power pop died, well, see, it's hard to really say, because I did say this myself, like that. The Knack obviously were a harsh blow to power pop's mainstream appeal, but I don't know if it entirely died in the 80s, right? Because you not only had like underground bands taking up the mantle of power pop, but also to some extent like mainstream acts having success. Like, yeah, you could probably argue that they approached power pop a lot more tactfully than the goddamn woo that those guys. Fucking the Knack. I don't like My Sharona, but I like its guitar solo. I will say that. I'll give them that. Let me see. What else do we have here? Ugh. Sorry, I'm doing a stretch. You know, I should probably revisit, not revisit, but I should probably look into, Eric Carr's solo, not Eric Carr, I should look into Eric Carmen's solo career. Because even if, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of, you know, AOR, adult contemporary, well, I don't know, like, you know, the sort of soft rock that, you know, went on the charts in the 80s, like, this sort of, Peter Cetera, like, I don't know. There was a lot of manufactured cheese on the charts in, like, the 1970s and the 1980s, you know. A lot of people like to say, you know, they like to look back at the past with these rose-tinting glasses and say, oh, you know, I was born in the wrong generation for music, you know, back in the 70s and the 80s, it was much better. No, they had this, back in the 70s, you had Disco Duck, you had Afternoon Delight, you had fucking all this other atrocious shit that, that we just so happen to memory hole and not bring up again, you know, when talking about the major culture shifters of that period. But no, warts and all, if you want to acknowledge music history, you gotta go back and look at those Disco Ducks right in the eyes. You shut your mouth. Chicago and Peter Cetera are a treasure. No, I do have an appreciation for some of those 80s Peter Cetera ballads, right? You know, I do like the sort of Hard to Say I'm Sorry and Get Away medley that they have. I do like You're the Inspiration, but I don't know, like, compared to early Chicago especially, like, I really love, like, the freewheeling, radical, political nature of those, like, first 3 Chicago double albums. Like, those are some wild fucking albums if you listen to them back to front. And you just don't get that by that point in the 80s, right? Because by that point, they were working with David Foster, they were very much sticking with a formula and, you know, appealing to, you know, appealing to the masses. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that necessarily, but I feel like they weren't given the horn section much to do, right? And it's a shame because, like, the damn band's built off of, like, that mix of jazz and rock that they had from the start. Check out Stone of Sisyphus if you haven't. It was the Oh yeah, no, I have heard of that. I should put that down. You know, it's funny. I remember, I think when I've been listening to these AOR playlists for the Boston video, and occasionally, like, one of those ballads will come on. Like, I think I've heard "Look Away" a bunch more in the past few months than I ever have at any point in my life. And like, yeah, those 80s hits aren't bad music, but it's just like, it doesn't feel like Chicago. By that point, Cetera left and the son of Elvis bass player took over. Oh yeah, that's right. And they also had, like, Bill Champlin in there too, right? Man, that's a whole other story in itself. Like, Bill Champlin and David Foster and that whole scene of of like Los Angeles producers, songwriters. Like, it's kind of why I wanted to revisit the Maria Takeuchi discography ranking that I did like years ago, because they worked with her. Like, Maria Takeuchi, the fucking singer of Plastic Love, got to work with LA like producers and songwriters and studio musicians like back at the turn of the 80s, and like hardly anyone talks about it, or it seems to, at least, you know. Like, it's there's a lot of groundbreaking music historian work that could be done there. But unfortunately, I don't speak Japanese, so I don't know. I think we can move on to our next topic, though, that I have prepared here. Let's bring up Wand. Now, how much do you guys know about the San Francisco psychedelic rock scene? I mean, obviously, the past San Francisco psychedelic rock scene gave rise to some of the most widely known bands of the 60s, right? You had the Grateful Dead, you had Jefferson Airplane, you had Big Brother and Holding Company. But in the years since, like, obviously there's been a lot of changes to San Francisco, but the psychedelia has surprisingly remained. You've had bands in recent years coming up like the OCs and Ty Segall and Meat Bodies and Wand coming through, which really represent like this radical I guess revisit of that 60s, 70s psychedelic sound, but updating it for an entirely new generation. Bill was sacked in 09 because the horn section was tired of him? Oh! That's funny. I mean, it's unfortunate for him, but I mean, I do kind of understand that, right? He was kind of a representation of, you know, that direction that that Chicago took back then. Which is it's interesting, you know. He actually was one of the songwriters on Earth, Wind and Fire's their one album, I Am, which is my personal favorite Earth, Wind and Fire album. He was one of the songwriters on After the Love Is Gone. Yes, no. The San Francisco psychedelic scene. Well, I don't know if it's strictly confined to San Francisco or if it's spread out like over some other cities. California is a huge fucking place, and like one suburban area might be casually like 100,000 people living in it, right? But regardless, you know, I have listened to quite a few of those artists out there. It's all very fantastic stuff, but I think my personal favorite band to come out of that scene is Wand, led by a certain Corey Hansen. I think he plays a lot of instruments, though. I primarily know him as like a guitarist. He's also got his own solo thing going on, but I love Wand's, at least their earliest stuff. I'll talk more about that. Hold on, let me try to pull up this on fucking Wikipedia. Band. It's a shame he was sacked because he was the one insisting on recording new material. Oh, that's unfortunate. And it's a shame that they don't want to do anything new. But you know, I guess at a certain point, I do understand why old bands like that just want to, you know, remain on the road and play the hits. You know, I feel like at that point they've sort of earned their their retirement or playing on into retirement, how to say. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, though. So Wand, right? I love like their first three albums, Ganglion Reef or Ganglion Reef. I don't know how you pronounce that. Golem and 10,000 or not 10,000, 1,000 Days. Those three albums are psychedelic rock par excellence. The first album's a very solid intro to the Wand sound of the period, like. It's a fusion of these beautiful synthscapes and acoustic textures on the one hand, but also these gnarly, like, distorted, fuzzy guitars on the other, and it's just a beautiful fusion all throughout. Golem cranks things up even further with, this a heavier approach to guitar. It's very much more of a stoner metal album, I think, than the debut, but I love it all the way through. And then 1,000 Days, of course, scales that back for a more artistic, I guess, psychedelic approach, and I think it works very well. It's a good fusion of, I guess, I don't know if you would say. Sorry, I'm getting caught up in my thoughts here. Let me read some more comments here. Their album Chicago's album Now is also great. Best thing they've done since the 70s, aside from Stone of Sisyphus. Oh, that's interesting. I haven't, admittedly, I haven't listened to any, modern Chicago, so I wouldn't have any frame of reference for that. What is it? How many original members are still in the band? Is it like the horn section and Robert Lamb? Because, right, Cetera's not in the band, and obviously you don't have Terry Kath, R.I.P. And I feel like it's weird only having that many when you're such a large band. Ugh. Yeah, no. Wand's first three albums, heavily recommended. Their most recent albums are they've put out two albums and an EP in the past. It's been 7 years at this point, and they're interesting. They added a pianist. Hang on. They had a pianist in their lineup, didn't they? Yeah, Sofia Araguin, I believe, was her name, and they had her in the band for some time, but I guess she must have left. Yeah, apparently she's a past member now, but she was with the band from Plum through Laughing Matter, and I don't know, it's a very interesting sound that they were able to come up with for those albums. I wasn't really sold on Plum until I heard that band perform a bunch of those songs in a KEXP live session. God bless KEXP, honestly. They're such an undervalued resource on YouTube. They have all of this free music that they broadcast in their studios, performed by all these world-class acts, and getting to see Wand jam out some of their songs on Plum in the KEXP studios was a very, very cool session. I think they do this really good version of White Cat and what was it? Is it Plum or Blue Cloud? Here, let me search that up. Blue Cloud Wand KEXP. This is a godly jam. Horn section and Robert Lamb are the only members from 70s still there. Yeah, that makes sense. There's their original drummer. I forget his name, but he was fucking dope. He's still alive, but I guess he just doesn't want to jam with them anymore either. They sadly went back to their Foster era sound. Ah, boo. Why would you make album-oriented rock like that in 2022. I feel like you're just trying to capture like the remaining boomer audience you have at that point. I don't know though. I really admire like the sort of artistic direction that Corey Hansen took in Wand from 2017 through 2019, and I think even recently they were sort of together with that pianist. But recently I think Wand put out a new single a few weeks ago, and I listened to it recently. Because I saw it in my mentions. I saw the music video. I was like, ooh, new Wand. I put it on. It was just like, huh, yeah, that's the same sort of mellow synthscapes we've heard for the last 7 years. What else is new? But I don't know. I know to reserve my judgments for an album until the full thing is released. God knows that there have been albums that have been released in the past where the first single is not as good a representation of what's to come on the album as you might think. They do have, Juan's got this really good live album called Spiders in the Rain, though. That's a really good representation, not just of like some of their recent sound with that pianist that I was mentioning, but they also have like a bunch of their older cuts too, like Melted Rope and Self Hypnosis and However Many Days that really rip. Corey Hansen's got some fantastic guitar tones going on and improvisation too. Like there's a lot of avant-garde influence in like some of these in some of the music, not just of Wand but of the other bands in that sort of San Francisco psychedelic rock scene. Like I could go on for ages about like the OCs and all of their permutations. Oh my god. Like not just they're called OCs now. I mean OCEES. But they've gone through so many different names. Orinoco Crash Suite, OCS, Orange County Squad, the OCs, DOCs, OCs. Oh my god, John Dwyer, you madman, you are short-circuiting my brain right now. Man, I want to go to California someday. I feel like I haven't been in ages. Like I went one time when I was really young and visiting like a family friend of mine, but I haven't been since. Like I've been on the West Coast like maybe once in the past 20 so years. I don't know. I went to Portland and then I took that from there with my dad back home. We did like a cross country trip thing. But yeah, no, I mean, I really want to explore California and see the sights. Danny Seraphine was sacked in the 80s. Yeah. California Transit Authority with some former Chicago members. Hey, speaking of California, and they do albums and tours. That's cool. I'd like to see them. Danny Seraphine, very fantastic drumming on those early Chicago albums. Like, oh my god, I love for fun, like playing along to like In the Country, or I think it's Song for the People. Like those are some really phenomenal drumming songs. Yeah, did he name it California Transit Authority because the members are from California? It's interesting. I don't know where I'd go though if I were to vacation to California, because like I mentioned, like there are so many like stealthily populous cities in California and so many different like tourist sites and cultures to explore there. Like you got fucking San Diego, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Sacramento. I mean, I don't know why I would go to Fresno or Bakersfield, but they're also out there and they're around. I There's so much on the West, so much in America that I've yet to explore that I want to, but unfortunately, economics and my schedule does not allow me to. Hopefully someday. Hopefully someday. And hopefully, actually, let me look this up. Are Wands touring? Wand tour dates 2024. Oh my gosh. Pictures. Seems they're touring with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, interestingly enough. Is that real? Chat, is this real? I don't know, I'm asking y'all. Certainly seems it. Where the fuck is Darien Center, though? It says Darien Lake Amphitheater. Oh, I think this might be like a Buffalo thing. Oh, well. I don't know. It's unfortunate when, like, small-time bands that you really like, well, I don't know if you would really call Wand a small-time band, considering they have been on, like, national tours and stuff, but, like, indie bands that don't often get the chance to, like, tour out so often. I wish it were more possible for bands that I like, Wands, like Orb, like Psychedelic Porn Crumpets to have the logistics to come out and, to perform for me, goddammit. Y'all should perform for me like you goddamn monkeys. No, I'm just kidding. But it's a shame, right? Like, especially if you're living out in, like, goddamn Australia, like some of those small indie psychedelic bands out there right now. Like, you're only confined to those big cities on the coast. Or, like, if you want to go all the way out to Perth and try to schlep your luck from there, try to be a local legend out in Western Australia. Or otherwise take the Kevin Parker route. I don't know. There's a lot. I don't know what it is about, like, the Pacific Rim, but there's just something about the bands there embracing the psychedelia that there's a je ne sais quoi of the psychedelic scenes that come from there, right? It's like I'd love to set up something similar here in New York City, but at the same time, I don't know if Mew York City is the happening city musically that it was even 20 years ago. Oh well. Let's see. I guess at this point, we can transition into talking about some of the recommendations y'all gave me last time. I believe a viewer, I don't know if he was Canadian in specific, but he recommended me Killer Dwarfs. And I put a few Killer Dwarfs album on this Spotify playlist of recommendations you guys gave me, and I have to say, I like some of the songs that I heard that came up on that playlist. Let me pull up my Spotify for a reference here. Like, yeah, songs like Gotta Lose to Win, Fire in Your Eyes, whatchamacallit, what else? Nothing Gets Nothing, Drifter. Really enjoyed all of that. It's, it's, how to say this without sounding too insulting. It's nothing, like, new in the realm of, like, 80s hard rock or heavy metal, but it is definitely 80s hard rock or heavy metal done really well. And it's good that Canada's got stuff like that. I don't really know how many I don't really know a lot of notable Canadian acts other than the ones that have crossed over, right? You know, you've got your bands like Rush, even to some extent, I guess April Wine, but you know, I don't really know that many Canadian rock acts. Like a lot of people like to gas up the Tragically Hip. I know Crash Thompson loves to sing their praises, but I haven't really gotten too much into Canadian rock. Oh yeah, you suggested Killer Dwarfs Know Where G's Dip. American, but my sister-in-law's Canuck. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting sound, and it's I like their lore that apparently they all name themselves they've all given themselves the last name Dwarf, literally being the Killer Dwarfs. But yeah, they got a good sound though. Very neat, like solid 80s rock, 80s metal, and I wish more Canadian rock like that had emerged from the 80s. What else? I think Canada also produced like Anvil around that time, and they never really got anywhere too big. But of course, they had like fucking Rush going around at that time, being all like synth. Not to diss synth-soaked Rush, you know. Obviously, 80s Rush is its own thing, you know. And I appreciate what they were going for there, but it's just like, I wish there was a lot more Canadian crossover. I feel like we don't really give a lot of our brothers from the Great White North a lot of love. I mean, of course, I say that, and some of the biggest pop stars in the past, like 20 or so years are Canadian, like fucking Drake, Justin Bieber. So I don't know. I might just be talking out of my ass though. But rock-wise, it definitely seems like we tend to keep the Canadians isolated to their own little corner of North America, you know? I don't know, Would you recommend No More Cheese Dip if you're still here? Would you recommend any of the modern Killer Dwarfs albums? I only really listened to I only bothered to add stuff from their 80s or early 90s output into the playlist. Because oddly enough, they don't have one of their middle period albums. They don't have an album from 1985 on Spotify. Straight up. Let me see. What album was it? Yeah, it was Stand Tall, I believe, that they released on Maze Records. That wasn't on there. I don't know if it Maze is just a defunct Canadian record that never really bothered to renew the copyright, but it's interesting nonetheless. I think similar situation maybe with Orion the Hunter. Yeah, because they released what was it? Portrait Records. It's weird that they never weird that the Orion the Hunter album has never been released on streaming, to my knowledge at least. I don't know if it was and it's just been taken off, but from all I can tell, you can only find that album on YouTube. I wonder if it's the same with the Killer Dwarfs album. Oh, Stand Tall's one of their best. That's unfortunate it's not in streaming then. I tried to make a comeback album in the 90s. It's their only modern release. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's unfortunate. You know, I don't know. Yeah, definitely should get into more Canadian music. I only know I'm really only a Rush fan, and I say I know April Wine, but even that, it's probably only a few songs that I heard from Sirius FM years ago. They do a good version of a 21st Century Schizoid Man, though. Surprisingly. And bringing up again the trend of bands to cover that song. I feel like I could never do that song justice, though, on drums. Like, I tried to play that song, you know, as hard as Michael Giles does on the studio version, and it's just like, oh my god, he must have destroyed that hi-hat stand after. As soon as that recording ended, that hi-hat stand must have just completely fell apart. There's like no way he was and just, oh my god, he was just going nuts. And I'm surprised that he never really emerged. Like, let's see, Michael Giles. Yeah, I mean, after, like, in the Court of the Crimson King and in the Wake of Poseidon, like, he was with McDonald and Giles, but that didn't go anywhere, and nor did most of his other stuff, for that matter. Like, I think he did a bunch of other, like, session musician work, but otherwise, he just never really fulfilled his full potential, unfortunately. Oh well, I don't know. There might be a lot of pressure to perform in that sort of field, right? With progressive rock, being on top of your game all the goddamn time. Oh my god. I can only imagine. You know, I'm happy that whenever bands I'm in incorporate some influence from, like, progressive genres. Like, I love playing in odd time signatures. I love doing wicked harmonic stuff, but I don't know if I could ever make that my entire, like, personality as a musician. I don't know if I could ever be in, like, a progressive rock band full-time. Least of all because I don't know if I'm the most technically qualified drummer for the job. Like, it's funny, right? When I think Rush have been making inclinations that they've wanted. They've been making hits that they want to, like, go on the road again with, like, maybe another drummer, or maybe play a show or something or other. You know, jokingly, I've thought to myself, what if I go out for that? But I could never be Neil Peart. Neil Peart is just an entirely different drummer all of his own, and may he rest in peace. That is all to say, though. I ought to get into more Canadian rock bands. You know, Killer Dwarfs. That was a pretty nice. Pretty nice taste, I guess. And it's interesting. It says on Wikipedia they're compared to Nwaba Max, like Iron Maiden and Saxon. I don't know if I exactly get Nwabam, but it's definitely a very good AOR sound. Geddy Lee Gobert. Yeah. Oh my god, I love Geddy Lee as a bassist. Like, he kicked so much ass. Still kicks ass, but I don't know how much he's doing live nowadays. I remember when he joined Yes on stage when they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and they played Roundabout. Oh my god, Geddy did that bass line so much justice. Why are Yes still together? I mean, I guess they're on the nostalgia circuit too, right? But look, at this point, they don't have any original members in their lineup. Like, they have Steve Howe, but they don't even have fucking Alan White anymore. Yeah, like Alan White died recently. May he rest in peace. They've got, like, Steve Howe, you know, like, as a Yes fan, I'm sad at their continued existence. No, same. Like, they've got, like, Steve Howe, like, his shambled skeleton of a corpse up on stage, like, playing those finger-picking guitars. You've got fucking Jeff Downs from the drama era back to do live keys. You've got Billy Sherwood on bass guitar. You've got the fucking Glass Hammer guy, John Davidson. An entirely new drummer. It's like, why do they even bother outside of, touring the nostalgia circuit? And I mean, I guess that is as valid a reason as any, but I don't know. I wish they'd bring back Oliver Wakeman. He was a kick-ass pianist, same as his father, right? I remember seeing his lineup with Yes, like back when it was he and Benoit David, like playing with Yes. That was a good live band, but unfortunately, they've degraded a lot more in the years since. At some point, I would love to go back and maybe do a video on Yes. I don't know what I would cover, if it would be like the whole Union debacle, or maybe going back and looking at like Tales from Topographic Oceans or something like that. But I'd love to do a Yes video at some point. Oh my god, they've put out like 2 albums in the past 4 years? That's crazy. I was hoping with no founding members they would try something new, but the new album was just trying to be 70s Yes. I mean, I feel you could say that for the past 1, 2, 3, 4 albums they've put out, like they don't really have much to say as far as being like a progressive rock band, quote unquote, right? Like, because they haven't really progressed much beyond, all the progressions that they make in their own music. And I mean, obviously, it's a very technically complex music, and it's not to downplay that, but it is just Yes at this point. And if you're a Yes fan, you want to listen to more Yes, all the more power to you. I'm sure these new albums have plenty of little goodies for you, but at the same time, it's probably something you've heard a million times already. Speaking of, I admittedly haven't really done the 90s period so much justice. I've heard mixed things about it. Like, I want to go back and listen to like Talk and the Keys to Ascension albums at some point. Maybe even Open Your Eyes and Ladder. Like, I remember the title track from The Ladder is really, really cool. Like, an R.I.P. to Bruce Fairbairn. He did great work with that album, and it being his final album, I think is definitely a good send-off to his long and storied career as a producer. I think we can move on from the Dwarfs, though, to talk about... Oh. Yeah, Killer Dwarfs. Great band. I'll probably listen to more Canadian music, but now, let us talk about Sekima Second. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Let me see. Does Wikipedia have a guide to it? Sekimatsu. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, Sekimatsu. Yeah. I guess you would pronounce it Sekimatsu or something like that. But these guys are wild, I think I don't know if it was you, Mina, or somebody else in chat. They recommended these guys to me last time, and oh my god, they're pretty much just like a Japanese Kiss, but like if Kiss fully embraced their whole Knights in Satan service shtick, Let me see. Let me read off some of this lore here. Each member is a demon of a different hierarchical class, with His Excellency Demon Kaka being leader of the Akuma, and His Majesty Damien Hamada being the Crown Prince of Hell. In their backstory in songs such as The End of the Century, Sekimatsu prophesied that they would conquer the world for the forces of evil, and, after successfully completing the task, would disband at the end of the 20th century. This story culminated in 1999 with a series of 3 consecutive concerts called the Black Mass Final 3 Nights on December 29th through the 31st, with the last known as the Doomsday. That's fucking wild shit. Like, imagine if Kiss tried to do something like that in America. they would spark so much fucking satanic panic outrage. Sekimatsu pronounced that as a joke. It means the holy devouring demon. Means end of the century. Oh, that makes sense. Some friends of mine from Japan and I have a Sekimatsu tribute band, and we love them. Oh, that's cool. It's really interesting, their aesthetic, right? Because, they have, obviously their own sort of makeup, their own sort of spin on things, but it's very similar almost in design to Kiss. And it does make me wonder, like, why Gene hasn't attempted to sue, maybe? Like, I feel like for some of these designs, he might have a case for his demon pattern, but like, because especially like, what was it, JL Ohashi, like one of the guitarists, like he looks almost like a Catman right there. Yeah, it's crazy image though, and crazy fucking lore and backstory. Like, what was it? Almost kind of like ICP in a sense, in terms of like predicting like an end of the world and sticking to like some sort of date or whatever for that. Like, not that I'm a juggalo or anything. I have not listened to any ICP outside of maybe like Magnets, but that was more to meme on them, if anything. I don't know though. Sekimatsu they've got a really interesting sound. Like I remember listening. What were some of the songs that came up when I was hearing them? Oh yeah, I was listening to a lot of this stuff like when I was at the laundromat, when I was like doing some grocery shopping earlier. It was really really interesting background music. Yeah, no, they what is it? Oh, sorry if you heard that. It was like Never Ending Darkness, Winner, a lot of interesting. I think what was it? There was this one compilation album like from the 80s that I was listening to, like that I put in that playlist rather. Yeah, Worst. That's what it was. Like a lot of the songs from Worst are what I listened to, and it was really fun stuff. Like, it's pretty much, like if Kiss had stuck to their guns and like played heavy shit in their makeup, right? Luke gave me tips on guitar playing and singing, and gave me the official title of Jigoku Tsuki no Senshi, making an official... Oh, that's cool. Makes me so happy to be recognized like this by one of my favorite players. Worst was the first metal album in Japan to sell 1 million copies. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I heard, like, I think I remember reading somewhere on the Wikipedia page. What was it? Rated... zeros. Oops, sorry if you heard that. It was something like one of their albums was like pretty much panned by critics, but it still ended up selling like millions of records. Was that Worst? Like, because I feel like that's just like such a good... it's such a fuck you moment to like the man and everybody trying to keep down like new forms of art from proliferating. Oh, their debut was the album that was panned. Okay, yeah. It's crazy, like the influence that bands like Kiss and Bow Wow had, to the point where you're having like you had all of these visual kayaks like Sekimatsu, like basically taking the country by storm in the 80s. And it's interesting too, because that's like the flip side of what is it? Like all the city pop stuff that we hear about coming out of Japan, like Tatsuro Yamashita and Miki Matsubara and whatchamacallit, Maria Takeuchi, all those people. Like I wonder if there's potential for like a vaporwave album made entirely of Visual K songs. Second. For some reason I clicked off that Wikipedia page and it completely took me somewhere else. As in, it wasn't in my back history. Favorite albums of theirs are Mephistopheles no Shozu, End of the Century, Living Legend, and News. All their albums aside from punk are really good. Interesting. I know they've got a lot of stuff on Spotify, but I haven't really put all that in. They what was it? Did they recently reunite and like put out a new album? Like, I feel like it's a kind of shame to, you know, break their lore in that way. But then again, you know, Kiss being Kiss were like a far more egregious example already. So I mean, shit. It's wild though. I wonder how much pyrotechnics they employ in their concerts. I feel like they'd have a very dope stage show. You can tell how unprepared I was to talk about these guys, having not seen any live video. I just literally see like these makeup dudes and like I'm like, oh, they must just be like a Japanese Kiss. It's like, wow, these costumes are intense. You know, these costumes, these instruments, these these makeup patterns. They get back together every 5 years to ensure their continued control over humanity. That's cool. You know, I like bands that are so committed to their lore like that. Even like Gwar, to an extent, even though I don't know that much about Gwar, I know that they've been around the block for a while, and they're still like such, you know, a disgustingly fun metal band. What was it? I remember seeing the Tiny Desk concert that Gwar put on, and that was a lot of fun. A lot of respect to people who put on a lot of heavy prosthetics and costumes and still go to rock out behind a tiny desk. I wonder why Visual K hasn't crossed over as much to the West as much, because you know you'd think with bands like Kiss or whatever there'd be a market for something like that, but I mean, I guess with the death of hair metal, maybe that wouldn't have played as well here. It's a shame. It's interesting, right? I might just be talking completely out of my ass here, but I feel like hair metal might not have died as hard in Japan as it would, you know, in other countries. It was like, oh my god, like, what was it? Tokyo Motor Fist, one of the bands that I was recommended. I think they have a few members who've, you know, played, obviously, who've been big in Japan in the past. Like, what was it? Tokyo Motor Fist members. Oh yeah, Ted Poley. Yeah, like those Sonic games in the late 90s, like Sonic Adventure, Sonic Adventure 2, they were still cribbing from 80s, 90s, like heavy metal, glam metal aesthetics for sure. Sugimatsu has made 2 albums of English versions of their greatest hits. Oh, that's cool. Always respect Japanese bands who make the choice to sing in English too. They played the final show of their reunion tour. Oh, okay, well, hopefully they'll be back, but if not, you know, they've already left quite the legacy already, I can tell. Man. I feel like it would be I feel like it would be such a hassle to live that life every night, though, playing in like a visual K band like that, or something like Kiss or Gwar, like, putting on all these layers of makeup and costume to go out and, rock under these, heavily, maybe heated lights, but like definitely very hot, very sweaty environments. Like, I feel like it's a struggle. Shit, I sweat up a storm just drumming, so I could only imagine doing it with a full-on costume and makeup. Oh yeah, they'll come back in 2025 or 2030. There you go. So, excuse me. I am going to be right back again. I need to pick up some water, but yeah, I've only got like maybe a few more topics left. I'll try to make it as far as 9 o'clock, and then probably dump y'all somewhere in another friend's stream. We're gonna probably raid somebody, hopefully some indie. But for now, let me just get up and get some water. I will be right back. Toodles. And water. Nah, it's me. I am back. Hello. Okay. They have every live and studio release on streaming as well, but all the 2 other compilations on streaming. Oh, that's cool. I'm glad that more and more Japanese artists are putting their material on Spotify, or maybe their labels rather. I don't know, but it's great seeing like official like city pop albums instead of like the bootleg podcast uploads that people sometimes do, right? Su's drummer worships John Bonham. Oh, that's cool. I love John Bonham myself. He was very much an influence on my drumming early on. I used to listen to all those early Led Zeppelin albums and just love those grooves that Bonzo laid down. Such a talented dude too. Like he's influenced me like to sort of, I don't know. Maybe he's the hold on me, not really going forward with learning double bass drum, because I can just skate by trying to get a double kick from a single kick drum. But at the same time, what is there to be said about John Bonham that hasn't been said by a million other drummers? Like, the dude just had an abnormal sense of groove, of rhythm, of drive, of anything that you could possibly need in a decent rock drummer. he was the blueprint. Though, in my opinion, I think that what's his face? Mitch Mitchell of the Jimi Hendrix Experience. That's my favorite drummer. Probably said that numerous times on this channel, but I adore Mitch Mitchell of the Jimi Hendrix Experience. He's my favorite drummer, bar none. Yeah, I guess though we can move on to talking about I was recommended this other band. I don't know who. I don't remember who by exactly. I should probably be writing down who gives me recommendations when they give me these recommendations so I can shout y'all out more properly. But I was told to listen to this band called The Forecast, and so I did. I think I put their three most recent albums into the recommendation playlist, and they're interesting. They're this indie rock band from Peoria, apparently. I don't know too many bands that come from Peoria, Illinois, so that already got my attention. But they're very they're very indie emo-ish, like almost pop punk to an extent. I don't want to denigrate them if they feel pop punk is an insult, but I do think that, there is something to be said for a very well-made pop punk song, especially nowadays that we're living in an era of Machine Gun Kelly wannabes and TikTok influencers trying to hop on the whole trend of power pop revival. Mitch Mitchell has my favorite Jufro. Oh my god, yeah, that dude had a monster of an afro. All the members of the Hendrix Experience had wicked afros. That was a very hairy band. God, love Mitch Mitchell though. It's a damn shame that basically all the members of Jimi Hendrix's old bands are passed away at this point. I think it's not Buddy Miles, but who was the the band of Romani slurs, Billy Cox. That's the one bassist who's still alive from those past few bands. It's tragic that they're all passed on, but I guess we all got to go at some point. And famous rock stars, especially who've lived wild lives. I don't know. They had to go eventually. The Forecast though, they're an interesting little band. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't listen to too much emo music in my spare time. I've got a bunch of friends who really are into the stuff, but I don't know. I prefer to express my sadness through chiller, more psychedelic synthscapey music. Tame Impala is more my speed in terms of being a sad boy than being all out rocky emo dudes. All the same, I can definitely appreciate some of what The Forecast is putting down. A very interesting thing about them is that they trade vocals a lot. I think there's a male singer, a female singer, and they often trade parts in their songs. There's this one song, it was I think it was A Better Man that really caught my attention, but I also, a few other songs that I liked on Spotify were Double on the Rocks, Sing It Out, well, those are the only other two that I liked, but that isn't to say that they're not a talented band. They've definitely got they've definitely got an appeal to them. Very suburban emo alternative music. So if you like that sort of music, you might like The Forecast. Definitely, I think they've got a strong thing going for them in terms of their harmonization, but I don't know if I would revisit them. They're definitely not as experimental as something like Turnstiles. I remember, what was it? A few years ago, Turnstiles put out a very interesting album that I was into. What was it? Glow On. Yes, that's the album. Glow On was a really interesting, that was a really cool cool sounding album, not just incorporating like hardcore punk sounds, but more psychedelic, heady influences as well. I feel like maybe obviously I'm biased, but I feel like the more bands go that sort of old school psychedelic direction, incorporating that into more hardcore sounds, I feel like the more interesting directions we could go. But at the same time, I have to give them credit. They just recently reunited, and I think their new album is definitely a very strong contender in continuing their legacy. So hopefully they'll be able to, how to say, I don't know. Hopefully the next time I hear them, they'll catch my ear a tiny bit more. I'll probably listen to more of those 3 albums that I put on the recommended list, but I don't know. I need to properly sit down and do an exploration of emo bands. I remember like ages ago, like back in the day when I would like pirate music off of mega.com, I would like download like a bunch of these old albums by like this band called Jawbreaker, like this very well-respected emo band, and I've only listened to like maybe a few of their songs. Like I download all this music with the intent to get around to listening to it because it's like important seminal music in like whatever genre it's in, and then I just drop it because I'm listening to like all the other same shit that I like listening to. It's a tragedy. Buck Tick is one visual K band I think you'd love. Their singer died a few months ago, but I think they're great. Ooh, interesting. I'll have to write that one down. And yes, y'all, if y'all have any more influences or you want to share what you're listening to nowadays, please do feel free to share in chat. Don't be shy. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate you chipping in, Mina Moon, for sure. But but yeah, no, the Forecast, decent band. I think if you're heavily into that sort of emo, suburbanish, sort of rockish sort of music, I think you might find something to like here, but I don't know. I need to find a better appreciation for emo music. I grew up around the sort of, I guess when it came around in like the mid 2000s, I remember, some people in my class, they wanted to present themselves all emo like maybe, but we never, well, I don't know if you could call it emo or scene exactly what we were all going through, but whatever it was, I never really felt the pull of it. I grew up relatively I was more of a sad boy nerd type than like a sad boy emo type, if that makes sense. Then goth rock, garage rock, new wave, power pop. Oh, that's cool. I love bands that are able to do like an eclectic style of music, like God knows King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard has done all sorts of genres like that. Queen too, Queen's another one of those bands that I'd like to maybe at some point cover in some way. Like I've had this idea floating around in my head that I want to go and like look at maybe like their participation in like the Sun City, or lack of participation in the Sun City boycotts, as like some sort of case study for like the efficacy of cultural boycotting. But I don't know. There's a lot of work, a lot of preliminary research that I would probably need to do for that before that could even get off the ground. So I do also like, what was it? There's this one Queen live album. What was it? Live at the Rainbow, right? Yeah. Live at the Rainbow 74. It came out like 10 years ago at this point. That's just oh my god, it's one of the greatest live albums I've ever heard, honestly. Like, it captures like these two concerts that they performed at the London Rainbow, like one in March of 1974 and the other in November, and they're just so incredible. Like, you can tell that why Queen were considered like a heavy metal band in those early days. If you do a Queen video, I'll lose my mind in a good way. Well, I'll make no promises, but I do definitely want to talk about them more on my channel. I love Queen. I love early Queen especially. You know, I love, what was it, Queen 1, Queen 2, Sheer Heart Attack. Those are some great, you know, rockin' albums. Not to diss like a Night at the Opera or a Day at the Races either. Well, okay, maybe a low-key diss a Day at the Races. I don't really like that album so much. But, you know, I do think Queen has a very fucking solid discography throughout. Even, you know, when they went into the more synthy, you know, poppy stuff in the 80s, I think there is a lot of valuable stuff there. And of course, R.I.P. Freddie Mercury, but I wish that Brian May and Roger Taylor would sort of put down the Queen torch already. You know, not to denigrate the work that like Adam Lambert's doing. You know, God bless him. He is singing up a storm these days. But like, I don't know. And I feel like at a certain point, some of these old bands going on the road, it's less about doing it for the passion of it and more about for brand perpetuation, you know? Especially when they were so heavily involved in like the sanitization of like historical events in the Bohemian Rhapsody film. Paul Rogers and Queen fans rise up. Oh my god, yeah, that's the one vocalist they recorded an album with after Freddie's death, and it's Paul Rogers. I've never really given that much a listen, honestly. I mean, I don't really know too much about like Free or Bad Company, I'll be honest. Like, I know a few Bad Company songs. I know like few, you know, obviously like All Right Now and Fire and Water and stuff like that, but I don't listen too much. I've never listened too much to those bands. Cosmos Rocks was pretty solid. Well, if you guys are hyping up Queen and Paul Rogers, I might end up listening to that album. Shit. I feel bad clogging your chat room. No, it's okay, Mina. I'm sorry. Sorry if you feel I called you out or anything like that. I definitely appreciate your input. No, it's interesting the trajectory Queen's had in recent years. Just, I wish we could scrub Bohemian Rhapsody from the cultural record, honestly. I feel like it's kind of been a net negative. Maybe not in elevating the career of Rami Malek. I think Rami Malek's a great talent, but other than that, I don't know, just like, you know, you had the fucking Bryan Singer, the sexual abuser directing it. You had all the revisionist history getting inserted into it. You had all the weird editing choices that for some reason got an Oscar nomination. I don't know, man. I feel like you call me out. I feel bad seeing my name being the one with C. Well, no, it's fine, really. I mean, I just like having people here to talk with. So appreciate y'all's company, you know. Even if you don't contribute in chat, you know, I love when people are here, like, you know, watching me shoot the shit. It's good to have people to bounce off of. see, what else could I really talk about here? Oh, there is, let's see. It is Cheek Face. Oh, I'm switching this text. Let's switch you. Cheek Face. This is I forget again who recommended me to this. Sorry if I forgot your name and you're in the chat watching right now, but these guys are really interesting. Cheek Face. I put, like, apparently they've released, what was it? I've put, like, 3 of their albums in the recommended playlist, but, like, they apparently have 4, but they have such an interesting sound. It's like if you sort of meet Talking Heads midway with Cake, you know, that sort of dry, budding sarcasm combined with a bit of a, quirky indie groove to it. I like it. I say it's very Cake, but I haven't listened to that much Cake. I know obviously some of their bigger hits, like The Distance or Long Shirt, Cool Jacket, that sort of thing. But I don't know, Cake, I feel like it's one of those acquired tastes things, right? I'm not the biggest fan of Cake. I'm far more of a brownie or cookie guy, personally. But, seriously, though, band, I don't know what it is about Cake, but they've never really clicked with me in terms of being, a favorite of mine. I have a friend of mine who I'm in a band with, who loves Cake. Granted, they have nothing but positive things to say about them. And I do think it's interesting how they have, their own separate horn player going in the background, like the guy doing the trumpet. But I don't know. I like Cheek Face's approach more. I feel like they have a lot more of a wit to them, more of a groove. Let me see, actually. A few of the songs that I favor to hear. Life in a Bag is a really fun track. I'm continuing to do my thing is the song. I don't know, I can't see the text scrolled, but it's The Fringe. They've got some great little cheeky jams. I think there's a lot to be said for quirky indie bands who try to push that avant-garde, approach to pop songwriting. I don't know if that makes sense, whatever I'm saying, but I feel like more bands should be afraid to get weird with. Shouldn't be afraid to get weird with it, and just be very maybe not afraid to be dry or seen as too quirky, if that makes sense. I don't, because I remember, and I talked a bit about this in my King Gizzard video, right? What was it? Yeah, in my live history video, I talked a bit about their one opening act, Kamikaze Palm Tree, and how they have sort of this quirky discography of all these little synth pop jams and well, not synth pop jams, Jesus, what am I saying? But more avant-garde, sort of off the wall arrangements of indie rock. And I don't think they're inherently bad. Even listening to some of their recorded live bits on the King Gizzard tour, I think they have a sort of live charisma, but at the same time, they just got dumped on by all these King Gizzard fans who, for the record, King Gizzard are also a fucking weird as hell band. I don't know what these people were hearing in them that they weren't hearing in Kamikaze Palm Tree, but, that, I guess, I guess some people, different strokes for different folks, But But no, I definitely am curious to explore more Cheek Face after this. They got a really interesting sound to them. And I just in general, I should be more. I should familiarize myself with more indie rock. I mean, it's hard, right? Nowadays, you've got a million different labels competing for attention on the internet. On YouTube, like, I see all the time, like, these recommended artists or whatever climbing into my feed that only have, like, maybe 5 views, like, 12 views, like, a very small amount of views. Like, they just uploaded, like, these new tracks that they dropped. And, sometimes out of curiosity, I will click on them. I'll look into them and, see what's up. Like, what if, like, you just dropped a banger of the century and, I'm finding it on YouTube for the first time before anybody else has, right? But I don't know. It's just like there's so much glut and so little time for me to explore it all, right? I'd love to, earnestly explore more indie labels and indie artists and stuff, but I don't even know where I would start with that sort of thing. Like, it's interesting. Take a shot for every time I say it's interesting, but like on the Internet Archive, I don't know how much I showed this in the last stream, but they do have their own distinct section on indie labels or net labels, as I believe the category is called, and they're very whatchamacallit. Like, they have all sorts of music on there, like hardcore rap, hardcore punk. I think Jason Scott mentioned they have their own entire section for vaporwave, which, I mean, isn't itself like a, I guess, commercially viable genre. What is the legality of vaporwave? Because like the other day, I was looking at what was it? I pulled up the Floral Shop by Macintosh Plus, and like there were copyright claims on it from like the songs that it was sampling. So I wonder, like, do they have to get permissions for that before they put it on Spotify? I don't know. I've been dumping myself back into Modern Talking and the extended theater Burnin' Pit. Most of it is god awful, but I like Tom Andrew's voice enough to withstand some of the. Oh, interesting. I'll have to write that down. Vaporwave's legality seems to be on par with sampling IRC. Oh, yeah. Well, I guess that makes sense. But at the same time, like, I don't know. Sampling, I feel like there's a lot of legal gray areas there, too. Like, 'cause even though that's allowed to an extent, like, there was that one court case, I thought, with, like, Biz Markie and that one label that, essentially put a huge kibosh to like unlimited sampling, right? Like that's the reason why like Paul's Boutique is like as unique as it is in hip hop, is because they've never been able to make a wild sample heavy rap album like that ever again. I tried doing an Next Japan deep dive last year, but I just can't get behind Toshi's voice. Hide was a better singer. Ah, interesting. I don't know too much about ex-Japan singers, but I do remember, like, when, what was it, that one song came out on Rock Band, IV, I think it was. I just remember thinking back in the day that the singer kind of sounded a bit like Marlon Brando and went in his lower register, but I don't know. It'd just be my memory. Good to see you, Peter, though. Glad you're here. Good to see you, Peter. Cheek Face, I definitely recommend you guys check them out. I think their most recent album is the one that I got like the most tracks that I really dug. It's called It's Sorted. Definitely check that one out. I don't know too much about their past 3 albums before that, but I definitely want to check them out more after the stream. Maybe sometime later this week I'll check it out. But I've still got a hell of a lot of work to do on the Boston video, on the Led Zeppelin cover, planning for the King Crimson stream. I've got a lot of things to do, and in fact, you guys, if you have any recommendations for changing my social media bio or whatever for a week, technically we can cash that in, because, I fulfilled that goal, but I don't think I've gotten too many suggestions from anyone yet, so putting it out there to y'all. I don't know, is there anything else we can talk about today? What videos? What other things have I been listening to? Yeah, I mean, it's mostly just, other than what I've mentioned today, it's mostly just been a lot of 70s metal, stuff like Evil by Cactus, and, a lot of stuff off the Captain Beyond debut, Sir Lord Baltimore. Love that sort of music, There's this one video idea I've had for a bit that I want to, someday trace the lineage, maybe, of 70s metal to see, how it evolved from, basically heavy blues to the metal we know in the 80s. I think that would be a very interesting video idea, but maybe it would be too many moving parts that I'm prepared to handle for right now. What did I think of Tokyo Motor Fist? They're fine. Yeah, I definitely definitely think they're a decent rock band. My only thing is I don't know. I couldn't really get behind the production. It sounds very standard, modern rockish sort of production, which I mean I'm sure people admire. But I don't know. I just it sounds like a lot of other AOR, and it's. Not to denigrate it at all. I'm sure it's decent. It's decently performed AOR. I don't know though. I'm glad that Ted Poley at least is doing more stuff. What was it? I think didn't they also have? Sorry, I'm checking through their lineup now. Who else was there? Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I thought Tokyo Motor Fist was pretty solid. Definitely maybe a bit behind the times in terms of like style, but if you do like that sort of AOR like 80s hard rock sound, it's definitely scratches that itch pretty well. And I don't doubt that they'll earn a killing on the Japanese live circuit with that name. Yeah. But otherwise though, let me see. Yeah, I think that'll do it for today. I'm happy leaving it off at a sort of 2-hour, 30-minute stream for the music live stream. Last time we attempted this, I did it on an empty stomach, and I remember slowing down a bunch towards the end, where my brain was just not connecting at all. My synapses were not giving me any insight into any of the music that I was commenting on. So, by contrast, I think this time went a lot better. We talked about quite a bit of music, about a page, one loose leaf sheet of paper, 2 sides worth of that. Nice to drop in. I'll catch you more on the next live stream. Thank you for coming. Thank you for tuning in, Peter. And y'all don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. You know, anything you do, any interactions you have with this video helps me out in the algorithm. I always appreciate the support you give me. Thank you all for tuning in. Really, it's great. You know, no matter how many chats you send, I'm glad that you guys are here. You know, I'm glad to have your company. I'm glad to be bouncing off and chatting music with a bunch of other people who love music. So, with that being said, you know, I'm going to continue to do some work on the Boston video. I'll try and post an update on that tomorrow. You know, I'm in the middle of like the second part of that video right now, and maybe when I'm halfway done, I'll try to post some sort of a big update. You know, I keep promising trying to do more of like an update for my patrons on Patreon, but I keep under delivering that, and I'm really sorry about that, but I will try to do something for you guys before the Boston video is out. And yes, that does include, you know, before the whole Brad Delp and Barry Gaudreau solo albums tier ranking stream. I still have to figure that out. Not stream, individual video, but you know, regardless, I still have a lot I need to figure out. But anyways, let's raid into someone else. I'm going to redirect to my good friend Kendra, and hopefully we'll be able to get some shower her with some love. Alrighty, and if you are continuing on, feel free to type with me, Cat Raid. But otherwise, thank y'all once again for tuning in. I will see. Well, maybe that's a bit too premature. I'll continue working on my videos. I'll, continue updating y'all on Twitter and Blue Sky and all those platforms. But until next time, I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.